Are you ready, Chris? Okay.
We'll start the work session for August 12th. City Council.
Just to read your blurb.
Oh, yeah.
Dave, if you want to, if you can hear us, Dave, please unmute yourself.
I'm here.
We'll note for the record that notice is given that council member Ashens is participating in this work session via interactive technology, which is allowed by Minnesota statute, section 13D02. The address for his location was included in the notice and is open and accessible to the public.
Can you speak one more time, Dave, just so we can hear you and make sure we have the right volume?
Sure. It doesn't look like anybody's going to join me in the lobby here.
Hold on
one
one
second.
second.
Down on TV.
Hold on.
Not sure what language
That's
that
it.
was, but
I don't think that's ever happened.
Okay, try one more time. I'll do our fashion.
Yes, I'm here and available to the public.
Oh, much better.
Okay, perfect. All right, good evening, everyone. Sorry, want to make sure everything's good to go so we can hear everybody. Again, we're here for the budget tonight. Thank you so much for being able to make a work session work. We've gone through and had 3 budget discussions, essentially, 2 work sessions, and then 1 council discussion at a council meeting. And we are essentially at the point where we need to make a decision from council level on what we'd like to see. Staff is here to take notes and make adjustments. Again, just for reference so that we can know where we're at today. And I gotta have to go back and click the button. Again, we're at an 18.22% tax levy request. Tax rate would go up slightly to 36.06%. What that means for residents in general means that it's roughly a $22 a year tax rate if your house was at $525,000 value, which is the average value, and it stayed the same valuation from 24 to 25. So we are looking at the whole entire levy right now and not just the general fund, although that is probably going to be most of our focus tonight. It is related to the entire levy related to pavement management, capital equipment, park capital equipment, and capital facilities, because those are the requests. Additionally, I did make note, and I think 2 or 3 weekly updates ago, about the request from the EDA to have a levy. Right now, they currently do not have a levy in this budget, but we need to have a discussion on that and what the council would like to do. Got some general feedback on that, but I'd like to have a further conversation, so I'll hand it over to the mayor and the rest of the council members. So we'll stay for questions.
Just some clarification on something.
Yep.
On the sheet that you sent out, the have to versus desired,
Yes.
the under fire you have one, I think it's 143.
That is correct.
Shouldn't that be 205?
No, because the request is to have a change in staff from the model of paid on call to being full-time. The 2 full-timer individuals are roughly $205,000 in total for their cost.
Yep.
However, because there's an offset with part-time, there would not be as much paid on call. The net difference is 143. So if you were to say, okay, we're going to remove the full-timers for your example of 205, we'd have to add back in 60 in order to make that.
See, that's what I'm confused about. We start today
Yep.
with a fresh start,
Okay.
and we didn't do the 2 new full-time. Why would we then have to add in 60 if we're not? Why would we then have to add 60? Because of the new scheduling going in, or, I mean, we're currently paying, paid on call today.
Yep.
So
That's
what would
correct.
change there?
Number of hours being used and dollars paid to them.
not necessarily, because you don't know how many people are coming on a
Based
call
on
anyway.
increased call, yeah, based on increased calls, we have to estimate the number of people that are gonna go on those calls. So that would be an increased number of dollars.
Because
for
the duty
individuals.
crew model also, I think, drops the average on-call person's number of hours from like 25 to 19 or something, I think.
But that's
It's
out of the
such a-
picture, right? Because we're not doing that today.
Correct.
Correct, but he's giving you the net difference.
Yeah, so what your request is if we didn't have those full timers, what would be our cost next year to do do the same model we're doing today.
Same thing we're doing today.
Yep, same thing we're doing today. The cost would roughly be about 60 grand based on the time we have for public engagement, hours of calls, number of people showing up to calls and such. It would be a $60,000 increase next year to paid on-call staff.
But that's not necessarily going to decrease.
Take the back. No, it would not be.
Yeah,
It would be. Take the back. I don't know what our numbers were. I can't remember what we ran, Chief.
I thought the 63 was
Yeah, that's
if we did the
Yes.
new model.
Yes,
Right, and we're not today.
correct.
And that's what I'm saying.
So there would not be a $60,000 difference. That is correct. It would be 30,000 probably. 20. We have to run the number.
We'd have to run the numbers, but there is
Number of calls.
the only way we're getting the 2 full-time staff is because of the operational savings.
Correct.
We don't have people that are gonna come and do maintenance nights, because that'll be done during duty crew.
Right.
We'll reduce the hours of public education that we typically put outside of that now. And then we also have some cost savings that can be accounted for training as it relates to those individuals. And then we also have a bigger cost savings that would be paid for by the dollars associated with the Relief Association going away to offset pensions for a current full-time fire chief and current full-time assistant chief
Correct.
that we are paying for currently today.
That we are paying for currently. That is correct.
So some of the sideline stuff would save money, but
Correct.
as far as on-call guys, you can't really predict that.
You can't predict that. We do our best, and
Yeah,
based on the number of calls that we have and how many people should want to call.
It's
We
based
do a
on
general number, but
5.09 people responding per call.
yep.
Is what our
And then our
average is.
best guess for how many new calls are going to be next year. I think this year we're at 14, 12, something like that from last year.
We're up 12. I didn't bring my computer down, but
Percent
last
or
time I
call?
checked, we're sitting
12%.
12% increase.
12%.
So that 63 didn't include the new model.
No. Yeah, so the 63 reduction was based on the fact that we don't have as many paid on call part-time staff. So if you said, okay, status quo is going to be next year, whatever you have this year, you'll have to add something to that. Would it be a 143? No, I don't know what that number would
I
be.
guess that was my question.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what that would be, but there will be some increase just based on the number of calls that we have from where we are today. Let's just say it's 30 or something.
Okay.
And I don't have that number in front of me. Just instead of saying that. But your question does make sense. And hopefully I've addressed it.
I can go next if you're done, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I the past few months have been working with Zach, so I went through the budget and looked at it, and then I had Zach double check with me through his calculator to make sure everything was good, and then I put together some slides just because I think it's easier to comprehend what's being talked about when you can visualize it from a visual person. So Zach's got some slides, so I put together an option here with a tax rate of 35.35%, which is a little bit lower than the current one. This reduces taxes by $15 per average home. This proposes that from the city's 18% levy increase, they cut $305,000 from it. And here are the things I would recommend cutting. We talked about capital equipment. I think last meeting, credit card fees, we've all kind of talked about. The BSNA, I think, could wait. The associate planner position, I also think, could wait. And it still leaves $86,000 for staff to kind of tighten up, which I think that they have the ability to do based on conversations Zach and I have had. This includes hiring 1.5 police officers, which is the one we were short last year, plus the half of one we kind of have anyways. And then hiring the 2 full-time fire department employees and paying a better wage and allowing them to have better access to retirement options. This also adds saving $100,000 for future purchases. This includes the budgeted 2028 costs, $10,000 for 3 more city events, maybe a concert series. I have no preference what they are, but I know some people do. $5,000 to double the committee and EDA pay. So we pay them $25 a meeting. Sounds like that hasn't been touched in forever. And we've had planning commission meetings that go till midnight. I mean, the one meeting you and I were at, and I think it was like midnight, you left and they were still going. So it's one of those things where, like, you know, they go late, and I just have a hard time knowing that they're spending those nights away from their families, and they can't even take their family out to a nice dinner as a thank you for that. And so I don't think it's too much to ask. It doesn't cost us a whole bunch. And then $22,000 in city resources to be waived or donated. So we had talked about last year, but we didn't actually implement a line item that we have for these events and services that we're waiving all the time. And I think we should get that on the budget so we're accounting for it. I will add one more piece that I found out from Zach this week for the hiring 2 full-time fire department people, which is Otsego, right? Zach, is the city?
Yeah, that's correct.
Otsego's about to launch their own fire department. When you look at Fire Station 1 in the historic village, almost all, but I think you said 2 or 3
Two or
two
three.
Yep.
of the firefighters down there are only 2 of them are in the city of Dayton. A lot of them
The rest
are
are
coming
all
from
Otsego residents or Rogers residents.
yeah, a lot of them are coming from Otsego, and we don't know. I would say it's a yellow flag. We don't know what's going to happen when they open theirs. If they're going to want to go volunteer their time to protect their own city versus coming over here. So I think we have a slight risk that we're going to lose some capacity out of that firehouse in the near future, and that should be on our radar when we're making decisions about staffing for city coverage. And I'm going to take it we'll come back to the slide, but I'll take it one step further, Zach, the next slide. So I also know what the future years look like. So when we look at 2026, and there's no guarantee, I'll be here, but I think it's good to think about, how this all kind of rolls out. I think we're consistently going to have 1 to 1.5 police officers per year. We're going to continue to have 1/2 to 1 person in public works. We keep adding more parks. That's more stuff to cover and work on. I think based upon the budget outlook Zach and I looked at, it's possible to save $700,000 to $800,000 a year budgeted for the 2028 costs over those years. I know the LC Stevens Event Center, only the event center piece, is scheduled for 28. I look at, we have our event center already, we have a second one coming on the pipeline possibly, and a third one that I've been told is going to come in a couple years. I don't know what we have planned for an event center. I don't know if we need an event center or what that looks like. But I would say that probably move to 20, 30, well beyond. And I think we have the ability to hold the tax rate at 35 for the upcoming years as well, and hold steady and continue to use the changes that we have with TIF and other income coming in to help manage the budget going forward. So, again, it's not, I know we don't normally always put things on slides, but oftentimes we start rambling stuff off. It gets hard to follow. You can go back a slide.
What is that saving, $700 to $800 a year? What is that?
That's taking $700,000 to $800,000 a year from the budget for 26, 27, and 28 set aside for, I was thinking the fire truck, but 28. I mean, if we're going to say, I'm with you, I believe that if we're going to say we should buy it, then if I was going to buy a new car, I would either know I'm going to take out a small loan for it and save as much as I could, or save for all of it if I possibly could. And I think that's the responsible thing to do, and not to saddle that debt with whoever comes after me. And so,
Yeah, I get that, but that is minuscule compared to the rest. The 2028 is we're gonna have to have a come to Jesus moment on that.
I don't disagree. I just, we don't always, I'm happy to just have a separate meeting talking about 2028. And I looked at some of the things out there, like the event center, where that doesn't seem like it's needed in 28. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that, but I'm trying to look at it more than anything else. And just, I think it's important. We always talk about this year, but then every year feels like we're starting fresh. And so having some sort of roadmap of what this could look like in the future just seems like, the right way to lead. So I am looking at this and trying to figure out what I could possibly look at.
I don't even think I included that, and I got up to this 30 million we have in wants in 2028.
Yep. And again, I didn't go through everything. That was the one thing I saw right away, and I was like, "There's no way, no how," and I have a hard time knowing if we have 3 of them coming in the city, if we're ever going to need, depending on what an event center is it being. An event center, as I imagine it, I have a hard time believing the city is going to need one in the next decade. But that's my opinion. But I don't know we don't have a vision for what that event center is, so I'm imagining something that would be in competition with Dean's or Fisher Farm or the Vineyard. So, which if we have 3 of them, I think we got plenty in the city. So if you want to go back a slide, Zach. So this is where I was at. I think that this, based on last year's discussion, I approached this a little differently. 3 of you made it very clear that you weren't open to any kind of tax rate increase, and so I want to have a tax plan this year that I feel comfortable voting yes for, so I put this together and put a lot of time and energy into it based upon the feedback of the last meeting, and then looking through the budget myself.
What's going next? Scott, you wanna?
Looks wonderful.
I'll let somebody else
Thank you.
go.
Dave, are you, you have some opinions here?
I do. So I think most of the things that Matt has suggested there look pretty good to me. Well, I think I'm on kind of the same page here, but I'll just run through it kind of quickly. 100K, I think we can find a way to reduce that cost from the loader, either buying used or configuring it differently. I don't have a strong preference, but I think the 400 is too much. I think we can do something pretty well for 300. I agree with eliminating the planner position for this year as an ad. The credit card fees, I think that we, my preference would be that we just adjust our fee schedule to incorporate that, but if we want to do it as a premium, 5% or whatever it is, when somebody pays their utility bill, I guess that can be done that way too, but I'd just as soon incorporate it in, and my guess is most people are paying with a credit card anyway. Then past that, what I would really like us to do is to find a way to carry forward about 400K toward the ladder truck. We've made that commitment. I think we've got a path to the other truck that we also ordered this year to get that one covered. And I think that since we know that bill is coming, we should be doing something with it now. I don't know that we can save enough, if you will, toward it to have it paid for when it comes, but I think we need to start doing something, and I'd like to see a number somewhere around 400K to do that. Where I'm going to differ with Matt is I think that the two full-time fire department ads, I think that is premature in my mind. We've got a station and a bunch of new equipment coming in that 28, 29 kind of time frame. And I think the staffing plan should be built to spool up to that. And I think doing it 4 or 5 years in advance is too soon. So I would prefer to wait on the two firefighters at least a year. I think that is, and then there's some miscellaneous expense for some bathrooms and things that would go along with the two firefighters, and so I would postpone those two until we actually move ahead with that hiring. That's pretty much what I've got here.
I'm going to ask you a question, Councilor Fashion. Is there a number that you have in mind? Is the tax rate okay that's being proposed here? Is it something less than that? Is it the same?
I'm good where we're at. I would say, incrementally up or down is not going to be a bunch of heartburn for me, but right in the same range that we're in is I think where we ought to stay. But what I don't want to do is have kind of that false sense that, okay, we can hold it at this rate until 28, 29, and then we're falling off a cliff. I don't think that would be responsible on our part. So my hope is that we take advantage of the current tax rate. I know we've got that growth of 14.2% that relates to new construction and 16.2 overall. I would be okay with either of those numbers, but I would like the call it the surplus to be the carry forward for the fire truck.
Okay.
And I also want to make sure we're fully funding the pavement management budget.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Got it.
Yep, I got my notes. Thank you.
So I can go here. As far as the desired, I took the 15K off of the finance. I think we can compensate for that. I took the BSNA software out. Activity Center, I moved from the 46 to 20. I had a question about that too. Was that 46? If that moved, part of full-time, where was the extra money at for the events she'd be doing? I didn't see any headers for that.
She said she'd only need roughly about $5,000 to do more things, because she'd be able to have more time into things and not have to pay so many, other people to do stuff, so. That was, those are her numbers that she gave me, and it was $5,000 more for operating supplies, essentially, for more supplies for the events, but she'd be able to do different types of events, as in not maybe such a big event, but more little ones, or more, pop-up things or whatever, that she could be able to be at more often.
All right, so I did put 20 in there. Police, I knocked off the half. These mid-year ads kind of bother me because it immediately causes a must-have the next year, or a have-to in the next year.
Just for clarity, isn't the 1.5 asked this year to hire one for next year and then to round off the half from this year?
No, it would be for 1.5.
No, 1.5.
One.
So the reason for that, why it's been explained to me, and I'm gonna try to do my best to explain it, Chief will have to jump in if he thinks I'm going way out of line, but the reason for that is that we're able to hire somebody mid-year, because typically we're having to hire somebody that's brand new out of school, and that time is the only time we can really hire that person, and then we're able to try to hopefully hire from, we'll have to steal from another department in order to get somebody with experience, and that typically happens around the beginning of the year, because that's when people are looking for movements, but.
Well, if it works, then 2.5 years, fine, but I at this point, I don't want to add 1.5.
Is it just because of the dollars? I just want to make
Yes.
sure. Okay.
Well, again, the half year, I just think it kind of forces our hand the next year.
Hiring two at mid-year would have the same effect, though.
Yeah, it will. I mean, it's going to.
You're still pushing the budget next year, you're forcing
Yes.
it either way.
Yes.
Yes, the two at mid-year doesn't solve your problem.
Well, no, it removes half for half the year. It removes one for half the year. So, but you're right, that problem, it still forces your hand the next year. And then, yeah, I removed the full-time fire department. I was not, I guess I'm not convinced that we're there yet. I think we will be there at some point. And then the capital equipment, I also would like to see some effort put into bringing that stuff down one way or another. I just think that we need to somehow tackle that issue, because these big lumps are nasty. So I put that at 60% of what was of the I think I figured 670.
I think it's 630, I think is what's in there.
630 in desired. I think 670 was the only way I could make that 18 work. That 18.
You're related to capital equipment right now?
Yeah.
So right now, the current levy dollars for that fund is $750,000, and we're looking at $1,050,000 next year, with $50,000 of that being allocated directly to the engine pumper tender that we purchased earlier this year. So that was how we were going to pay for it, is basically a 1-year increase, and then have that year increase for a couple of years, and then drop off.
So were these the one-pager things? Because I'm looking at this, and that's the only way I could make that add up.
The one-pager things was 630.
630.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm looking at it from a tax levy perspective, not necessarily purchases, but I'm making sure that the tax levy works for year over year. Essentially what I'm saying is, if we keep it the same, now we're at 750 and we're not having an increase. If we change it to $1,050,000 to fund all this stuff from next year, use up a little bit of the fund balance from the previous years that we've saved on dollars on little bits and pieces here. We can make all the purchases work next year if they come in right at budget, which most of them have come in on close. Then we're able to use, again, those past dollars, and then still have enough money to be able to move forward with it. If you cut too much out of that fund, which you can do, it then ends up handcuffing you for the future to be able to say you can't use any of those little bits and pieces that we've saved over the time with. Whether that's a sale of a vehicle, because when we bought a new one, we sold it back in, that money goes back into this fund. Or we're not under, or we're under budget because we
Yep.
didn't get this piece of equipment on it that we were expected to have, or whatever, or reused it, or whatever it was. That's right. I look at it sort of from the tax levy perspective, not so much from the individual purchases. But
No, I get that.
I think you're specifically, when you talk about those dollars, you're looking specifically at public works, correct?
It looked like most of it.
Public
was,
works
yeah,
slash
yeah.
parks.
Yep,
Sorry, Marty.
yeah. I do want to hit that 14% number. I don't know, it was a 14.2 or whatever it was. At least very close to that ballpark.
Okay. And you said what number for capital equipment on public works was what? Remember what that purchases were?
It's,
You want to see?
340. No.
Right now, I think you said it was like 630,000 or something like that right now.
Yeah, the
Public
loader,
Works.
the loader's 4.
400.
You wanted to see it down to
Yep.
400,000.
Yep.
Can I inquire to what the tax rate is at your 14.2%?
Don't know. I'm going to say it's.
Keep going, and I can.
I don't.
It's gonna be 34 something.
It's just shy under. It's not going to.
34
It's
to
not going to move
33.
it much. It's a number. That, to me, that's the new construction, and that's the number I'd like to stick by.
But what about the
If
fact
we
that,
bounce
like,
up-
just running the city, because inflation's gonna cost 2-3% more in general, so, like, existing homeowners should expect money to come from them to help cover, even if there was zero growth next
Yep.
year, you would still need some kind of increase in order to help cover the general inflationary costs that comes that they're, I mean, I know they experience in their own homes,
Yep.
the city experiences just as much, if not duplicative, because everyone charges the government more for things.
Yep.
But that should be included in the budget already.
We've been double digits.
That should already
for
be
the
in their
last
numbers.
7 years.
Everybody should be
We can tone
factoring
it back a
increased
little.
cost into their numbers right now.
Correct, but my point is,
So
if you're
that shouldn't
only
change.
budgeting for the new construction to pay for anything, you're not budgeting then for any of the things that come with the new homes that need then servicing, more roads, more police, whatever the case may be. You're assuming that basically the new homes are subsidizing the existing homes versus the existing homes.
You're also assuming that we're at the right rate. I mean, again, we've been double digit increases for at least the last 7 years
Not in the tax rate, in the levy percentage.
in the spending.
Yeah, but we've had 400 to 500 new homes a year for a while too.
I get that, yep, and they should be much cheaper to manage. So,
Okay.
that's my deal.
Okay.
I want to see new stuff. We can consume new stuff, but I'd like to see legacies left alone for a while. And I agree there is inflation, but to me, in my mind, it kind of counters what we have seen past X number of years. I mean,
Yeah,
last year we went up. We were supposed to be 18, but it looked like we were closer to 20.
No, it was the 18% or whatever it was that was passed. The difference is that we lost the EDA levy, so that's what everyone didn't see, is that you don't see the reduction in
just
the
looked
EDA
at-
levy, and you
No,
see the.
I wasn't
tax.
talking about levy. I was looking at spending, and we spent
Sure.
that 88.
That's what I mean, yeah, so, like I said, in the levy dollars, it was 18%, but it probably ended up, again, probably being 20, because you gotta take that
Yeah.
dollars off of one side and put it to the other, so.
And last year, we only went up 200 houses, 201. So,
So that number that you,
But that money, some of that money is also coming from the year before too.
it is, but then.
And the year before we had
Yeah,
a
I know,
bunch
but
of
it
houses.
always gets munched around, and
14.2% gives us a tax rate of 34.71%, which means people's taxes would go down $50 on the
That's
average.
if, that's if their home stays the same, but.
Correct.
We
Which
al-
is all we
we
can
already
do.
know it's gonna go up probably 1%. Likely.
The average was 1%
Yeah.
this year of the county. That
So
doesn't mean
that-
everyone went up 1%.
right.
Some people went down,
yeah.
Yeah,
and then some people went up more than that. So again, we have to use the average, and I can only base calculations based off the same tax rate, the same valuation,
Right.
which, because every house is different, so
Yeah.
no matter what you pick a house, you're gonna be wrong.
Yeah. So some of these numbers, I mean, whether or not we do the credit card fees, I think some of that stuff is, I'm totally wide open on adjusting that stuff, but like I said, I'd like to hit that 14 number. And as far as hiring, I would like to see one police officer. Actually, you had some, The planning stuff that you had in here, I think I'm kind of open to adjustments there too, but
What do you mean, up or down,
Well-
or?
whatever it takes to make it work. The, a lot of these smaller numbers, activity center, I had at 20, but if we decide that 30 makes more sense or 10 makes more sense, I'm cool with adjusting that kind of stuff. I don't want to, right now, go to full-time with that.
As in, you mean more than part-time than it is currently?
Well,
You wanna keep that, cause part-time
32
still
to me
means 32 hours a week, it just
32
means,
to me is full-time because
Okay.
there's benefits.
there is benefits are also, yeah, they're prorated, but they are benefits.
Our company calls 32 full-time. So
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Whatever you want, however you want to word that, but I think that what has been going on there is good, and so I think we should throw more money at it. But
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
I want to be Grinch.
So what?
Go ahead.
No, you can. I want to be Grinch.
And I think
He's
that
last.
14 would then add some money too for whatever debt we incur in 2028, whether it's a ladder truck or whatever.
I think based on those cuts that you have there, there'd be money left over to do something with.
Yeah,
Cause your cuts alone are
every 1% is
400 and, you're probably at almost 525,000 over the cuts at least. And the difference between what we looked at and what our 18% was and what the 14% is only 320,000.
Well, yeah, my numbers came to just under 12, but
Mhm.
I recognize that we. the
Which is probably
consensus-
pretty close.
The consensus is we want to dump more money towards that 2028 debt. So,
Okay.
Grinch.
You want to
Go ahead. No, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to add. I just, I like what Matt laid out. I just try to look at, our operations and how things function and how alleviating positions actually might hurt us in the shorter run than it will in the longer run. I was just talking with our police officers. That number should be at 2. I mean, to be all honest, there's no reason why we should have 2 officers only at night. There should be a redundancy in 3 and 4. It's crazy to hear the stories that they hear about, what Chaplin doesn't have, what Rogers doesn't have, what our surrounding communities don't have, and then they look at what are we going to do for work? I'm going to sit in the office until a call comes out because I'm not going to risk getting hurt myself. That's not what we got to have happen. That's not how a police department should be running at night, representing and serving its residents. Same thing with the 2 full-time fire department hires. How that thing operates is, and I'm sorry, I don't have anything on you. You guys, you got what you got. But running these things, to say we don't need a 2 full-time department, I'd like to ask the group on what grounds do you guys have any information on that, other than just the fact that you want to save dollars. It's hard to sit here and look at this and go, you know what, the request is that they want that group of people to just do more, when those people are telling you they're freaking tapped out. And this is the one thing that they all agreed to, the one thing that they worked with the chief to put together to say that actually makes sense for the whole department to work in the functioning aspect. And it's it's mind-boggling that information or that streamline doesn't make it connection anywhere. So I like what Matt proposed. It looks great. It looks like it's going to buffer that 28 huge influx that we're looking to navigate around. But I just can't sit and eat away at little piddly dollars here and there, knowing that we're behind the 8 ball tenfold on how the city operates and what it looks like for its future. So my personal budget doesn't get as depth as this does, just because I'm pretty much a sole individual income. I mean, I know what my dollars make me and where they go. It's tough to say, like, you guys want to squeeze even more out of that, me and that group of people. Like, that's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, guys. That's about it. I like the 35.35. It keeps us steady. It keeps departments functioning in a way that they should be, and it makes me feel comfortable. And if I feel comfortable, I feel like my residents feel comfortable. And at that point, so that's my 2 cents. Go ahead and Grinch it up.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna follow Debbie Downer. Let's see. As far as the one-pager deals, and I didn't look at the $1,050,000 that you're talking about. I didn't really look at that. That's farther out a little bit. Lower, mower, truck, and chipper.
Yeah.
You got 630 on that number. I think
We
it,
bought the chipper. Oh, you're talking about the
no,
stump
the
grinder.
stump grinder.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the chipper.
Oh, you already got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a chip ran the stump grinder?
No,
that's
unfortunately
fine.
it's not, unless we can tip it on its
Tip it
side
on
and
its
push
side.
it down. It might work that way.
That stump grinder. There's a lot of. If you look around, there's a lot of ash trees out there.
Yes.
I probably got 50 or 60 of them myself.
Yeah.
I think that number right there can be 460, and we can get all 4 of them pieces of equipment without too much trouble. The big one is the loader, and we talked about that. I mean, I think that can be bought for $250 and get a pretty nice unit out of it. I showed him a couple of them at $150, $170. You can get them for $250,000. So
The problem with those, Scott, is that you need to have them equipped with a snow plow, snow tires, and the hydraulics, and that can add up to $120,000.
yeah, I don't have any idea how they're equipped.
Yeah,
I
that's
just,
the problem.
yeah.
I've looked at a
Did you?
number of
Yeah.
them, a lot of them, and that's always the problem with them. They're designed to move dirt and not be used as snow plows. So that, you might get them for $250, but then you end up adding $120,000.
Yeah, if you have to, right. No, I hear what you're saying.
$370.
And I also heard that you were thinking about a smaller unit to save a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You get this much money, you figure it out. However, what I don't want to see is, here, we're going to push one of them out and not get it, period, just to make it work. When you get that lump of money, I would prefer all 4 of those pieces of equipment are bought so that they're gone, they're dealt with, and we got them. The activity, I put 10 in there. I mean, I think with 10,000, Danelle can get 3 or 4 more. I would personally like to see a music series like most all these other cities around us do. And I mean, we got other fish to fry before that, I think, but I mean, I think it's there. Your part-time gal for 16,000. I scratched it completely only because I think the loader you're going to sell, maybe you get to say 15, 16. I don't know. I don't know what it's worth. But 16 is not that much to find, so I'm not overly concerned about it.
So if we can find a 16, we can keep the part-time
Yeah.
Because I think that's an important hire, because Kelsey is doing so many other things with the communication side that she's working at home in the evenings to try and get the rest of her work done. So
Yeah, to me, if you sell the old loader and you get whatever you get for it, you get. That's what you get. And that's not that much money to try and find, really. Not in a $9 million budget. It's not. That's for damn sure. Police, I personally would rather see police than fire, because I think we lack in a couple areas. There's a lot of complaints. I get a lot of emails from the industrial area that kids are doing burnouts, they're speeding down West French Lake Road. And I know we don't have our traffic cop that we were going to hire a year ago. We don't have him yet. That guy can pay for his wage, damn near his wage, just by sitting on Zanzibar, I'm sure. My opinion.
We could double our force and we'll still have that.
Yeah, you're always going to have it, but then that's the only way you're going to
It's
get
nice to more, yeah.
That's the only way you're going to curb it a little bit, is you rack up a couple of speeding tickets, you're going to learn.
Put people out there, right?
Yeah. I don't care whether it's 2 mid or 1 at the beginning of the year, but I see two at the mid-year or one at the full-time deal.
So just one, not 1.5.
Right, right. I'm trying to hit a certain number is what I'm after. I mean, to me,
14.2.
I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you're trying to say, so.
Right.
not necessarily a number, but I think we can get by. I mean, we shouldn't have.
We've been getting
one-
by for half a decade, in all fairness.
We
We've been
shouldn't
doing
have
more than
one
that.
officer
You
on
wanna
at
look at the
11 at
numbers,
night. We should have two.
we almost kind of,
And I think if you got 12 full-time cops, that's gonna get you there.
Be close. We're still short too,
Yeah.
to get us to
Let me-
constant
let me
24 hours a day.
Interject something here. Just over the past 4 budget cycles, we have gone up population by 56%. Our employee has gone up 75%. So
Yep.
we're not just getting by.
No, no.
Sure.
In 5 years, we've doubled our full-time employee in this building.
Yep.
And in 5 years, we have not doubled the population.
It's
getting close. It's getting close.
We had
Yeah.
1,500 homes in
Pretty
2022. We had
close.
over 3,000.
Yeah.
In 4 years,
I don't
we're more
care
than
about
double.
homes, I'm talking people.
Yeah, but if we average 3 people for homes, so I mean,
The actual numbers were a little under 10,000. That's the actual numbers, not average. As far as the fire, I took a day and called 12 cities with anywhere from 9 to 11,000 people in it. And 3 of them didn't call me back. Maybe Gary got after him and told him, don't talk to that guy.
How would he know if you're calling people?
I just added that in there. Come on, you gotta have a little bit of fun here. Like I said, it's nothing personal, it's business. St. Anthony is, out of the 12, 2 had over 2. 2 had over 1, I should say. St. Anthony's got 7 for some reason, and I have no idea why.
Scott, can you, I'm curious, 2 over, just want to understand.
2 full-time.
Sure.
Two cities out of the 12 had 2.
What did you call
St.
it?
Anthony and Waseca. Champlin and Anoka both, which are 2.5 times our size, had each 2.
They have 4.
4 together.
Yeah, but they're one department.
I understand that. 2, so, but I'm saying 2 for Champlin, 2 for Anoka. Yep. So 4 total, yes. 4 had 1, and 3 had 0.
I think Rogers has 3.
Rogers has 4.
Yeah, 4 now.
But again, they're twice our, better than twice. They're twice our size. Whatever Otsego going to have, I mean, they're
Well, they might be
25,000.
sending out-
They're 25,000 people, so they're just about like Champlin. I have 300K going towards the fire truck, and I personally, I wish there was 600K going to that thing, so that in 4 years the money was spent. I mean, there's no way I would. For me, I have the money or I don't buy it. That's just the way it is. I don't remember what the 2 items are. Line 27 and 25 and the desireds. I'd chop both of those down. One of them is planning, I believe.
Yeah, they're both the planner, associate
Yeah.
planner position.
So, to me, you've got John and 1 full-time there, that should be good. The BSA, I scratched that 100%. And with this model, I come up with 14.5. And that'll leave roughly 1.5, 2% to lower the rate.
How much is going towards the
Ladder.
future? Yeah, future ladder. How much is it?
300, I got 300 there. And I wish I could have more. And I would squeeze and spend that 2% if it went that direction. But I do not want the same thing to happen this year that happened last year. I mean, I pushed to give that extra $100,000 from EDA, and it got spent exactly where it said I didn't want it to go. That was me personally. I mean, we vote as a group, but that's the way it is. As far as EDA, 0. They're not using the money, so I don't see a reason to tax for it.
I'm sitting there too.
same.
Good item, no?
Until, I think we need some more
And I mean, if all of a sudden some big purchase comes by, we can make it work. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I'm at 14 and a half.
Okay.
Nothing terrible.
It wasn't. I was expecting worse.
This gives everybody something, even the resident. They get a little bit of a break. And in my opinion, the guy should be working with, you have 1.25 extra money in the capacity. That's all you get. Because if it is anybody in here, your wage is all you get. You can't go, I need more. Unless you go to work, get another job.
Get another
You
job.
want more, get another job.
Yes, okay. I appreciate the information and such. And from everybody, it's good. It gives us at least a good direction.
You
but-
are, and we had talked a little bit about this, but
Yep.
you're gonna have a hard time with these little pieces.
Yes, I am, which I've talked about before. So I'll make some caveat statements that are going to be good for some and good for others, and then it is what it is. But giving off this information, which I don't mind doing, and it's the small stuff that was asked about. What's the follow up? What's the detail? How do you get to the number that you asked for the increase? It's really, really good to give the information on, and I have no problem doing it. However, what the problem is one's different than the other one's different, and the other one's different than the other one's different, and then I don't know what to cut because I don't know. No one agrees on every single number, and so I just pick a number, and then we get comments. So this is what happened last year: is we try to figure out what's best for the staff, and we work together as staff of what's going to work. And one council member says cut this, one council member says cut that, and then we look at staff and we say, okay, department heads, we're going to pick something out. We sat down for I don't even know an hour last year and picked it out. And then we get comments like you just mentioned, Scott, and it is offensive that you get mad at us like you picked the wrong thing I didn't want. And it's not like we looked at you and said, you know what, we're picking that because Scott said he didn't like it.
That's exactly the conversation I had.
Which is not the case, but it is a little offensive that it's like staff just doesn't care about anything. We just want to spend money, which is absolutely not true. If we wanted to spend money, we'd come back to you every year with a 35% tax levy increase.
I could say no.
I know you didn't say no, but it's just.
No, I can say no.
You can. Oh yeah, you can
guys
say no.
come back with
Yeah.
35%.
And we'll do
Come on.
stuff to Matt too that Councilor Trolls doesn't like, and I just picked you two because you typically are on opposite ends of things, and it seems to be it just is. So I want to make sure that everyone in this room knows and the council knows that staff isn't picking on one person or the other person. We're just trying to make the best decision we can with the dollars we have, and so. One thing that I wanted to mention and talk about is the payment management dollars that everyone's been making sure that we want to get that money good to go and ready to go next year for how much we had planned out for the payment management study. So if we look at the current tax levy for next year, increase of $300,000. We do have the MSA dollars that are going to come online as well, and that's about $400,000 as well. So it'll be roughly a $700,000 increase in the payment management fund. If we add that to what we currently have today, we're at 1.8 or 1.9 million dollars, and that's higher than what we needed for the payment management study to make up to our number that we had. I think it was to 75% or whatever for our street number, by almost 300 grand. And so I don't know if that's something the council wants to look at and talk about of how we want to handle the payment management dollars. If we want to worry about them later on down the road, if we want to save those MSA dollars for a bigger project. I will note that next year's project is an MSA road. You can also do it on a territorial road. So the two roads that we have next year planned out for projects potentially are Territorial Road and South Diamond Lake Road, both of which are MSA dollar state funded roads, and both can be utilized with that $400,000 increase. I don't know if that's something that we look at and take some of that money and look back and add some of these operations dollars back, one-time things or whatever, to be able to redo those stuff. Or if we want to look at it and say, no, we're not doing that. So it's just something that I noted today.
So that's a different, that's a different 300 than what we were talking about at the parking lot.
Yep,
Because
correct.
that's the excess we had.
Yeah, the $200,000 we talked about, it's like 200 and some change.
212.
Yep, is related to this year's current tax levy dollars that we had that we didn't spend because we had project after project, and every one of those came in under budget. And you might as well make hay while the sun shines, as they always say. And so why not look and see how much it's going to cost? I know that Stantec's looking at bids right now. Their estimate is less than the $212,000 to do the project for the parking lot at the current moment. But we'll see what actually bids come back in at. It is less than the $175 as well for our bid process, so we're just getting direct quotes. And hopefully they come back in good and people want to get a last minute project in. But that should be also added next year too as well.
Just because we haven't had these funds, can I ask a question? Because
Yep.
we haven't had to deal with them. So are those funds, the rest of the payment management funds are fungible. So if
Yep.
those funds come in and all of a sudden we could, it's not like it has to be spent on pavement.
It does not. Nope.
Okay.
Just MSA.
Yeah,
It has
just the
to be an
MSA
MSA
portion.
road.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Should say has to be spent on pavement.
Because
Should
I know
qualify.
bituminous, I know bit's been low, but
Yep.
other times it's been high.
It has
And so next year it can completely flip, and I'd rather have a little bit more on that account, knowing that it might be a little high, and if it's not, then we can either reallocate some of those funds for something else that we see fit
So
next
we actually
year,
don't get the
or-
dollars here.
Picks up, yeah.
We physically don't receive the MSA dollars. They stay in
I'm
the
talking
fund.
about the other dollars.
Oh, the other.
Yeah, because we're gonna do South Diamond Lake anyways, right? So we might as well use that money towards it. Right? Is it a user
It is a
thing or a carryover?
Yep. It does carry over.
It does.
So
But if we're doing a
typically-
road that qualifies, you might as well use it up.
Might as well, at least in my eyes.
Yeah.
'Cause the one thing with the state is the more you use, the faster they'll give it to you, which is seems really dumb and stupid, but that's how it works.
Then,
for
yeah,
the
we should
state.
definitely use that money first.
Exactly. The
That's
more
how it
you
works
use,
for all budgets.
yeah. However, some cities look at it and say we want to save that money, we want to use it for a big project. Well, the problem is once you get to so many years, they start cutting back your funding, so you don't
Yeah.
get as much because they
Sure.
think you're just saving it, and they
You
don't.
might as well just save your own money.
Correct.
Yeah. You get the same result without them being
Correct.
worried about that. So I'd rather keep it on wherever else. I'd rather keep it where it's at, knowing that it could all of a sudden be high again next year. If it's not, we have the extra money and we could lower payment for the following year and kind of.
And if we need to move it, even, if we see something coming, even, this December, we can still move it as long as we've already accounted for it in September.
Correct, yeah, so the main thing I want to make sure is that we're good with the number we can always go down again, and we have gone down in the past, so no one can tell me that they sit here and go, never went down, because it has. But we can always go down, we just can't go up. So, basically, what I need to get from everybody today is I don't need to know exactly where these dollars need to spend at. I just need to know a percentage that we're okay with putting on the tax statements that are going to go out in October or November. And it sounds like every one of us, from the council's perspective that I can tell, is going to have the current tax rate stay the same at the highest. So that means that's going to be some sort of cut from where we're at today, which is a maximum of 16.2 or something along those lines. So
I'm
hearing from
okay
everybody.
with anywhere between 35.5 and the current tax rate.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing from everybody. Is it's somewhere between 14 and 16%.
Sounds like it.
That's what I'm hearing. So, which is good. Again, I don't need to have specific dollars laid out quite yet, but I just need to know a percentage so we can pass that on September, whatever date that is, September 10th or so.
Now, that 14.5 or 15%, how much of the CIP is not factored into that, though?
What do you mean?
Like the $1 million in equipment that you were talking about, not the one pagers, but there's another 400 grand there that you're talking about.
Yep. So this number here. So what I need to do is I need to submit this to the state, and all it goes to is one number on the tax statement. It just gives the city a date and then the amount that you pay. It doesn't break it down in this budget sense, but this is what I need to give them. Is okay. What is the increase going to be next year, and where is it going to be allocated to? Again, we could change those allocations all day long if you want to later on. But once it's December and we approve it, that's where they're staying for the rest of the following year. So I think what you're saying is, okay, would we take some out of capital equipment? Probably, and then you'd remove some out of capital equipment and then some operations, and that's why my question for pavement management is do we want to move those dollars at all back into capital equipment or into operations to offset? And it sounds like for me, from council, it doesn't sound like that's the case, which is fine, just laying out all the options.
So how much over are we going to be the number we needed to be at according to the study? Did you
About
calculate that?
$300,000 again per that year, and then every year after that it'll be 400,000 or larger because it's based on trips and it's based on number of miles. And Jason, what's the other thing that MSA is based off of? Trips and
Population.
and population.
Yeah.
And those are all three of those are all increasing.
Yep.
So it's not going to go down at all. It's
Yeah.
only going to go up, and it's guaranteed funding from the state.
No. I was talking about to hit the 79.
What do you mean?
The
79%.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1.55 or 1.6.
and how much
million.
over are we budgeting for next year now with the MSA dollars?
Not with MSA. We're at,
With.
MSA. We're at 1.9.
And we need to be at what, one?
I use 1.6 as the number. That's what I
Okay,
used.
so about $300,000
Correct.
over where we need to be.
Correct.
And I think that was leveled out fairly quickly, right? So we're gonna be over for
Correct.
out years.
Yeah, our
Yeah,
percentage.
that doesn't
will go-
increase on a regular basis. That's like a set dollar amount that will get us there, right?
The MSA, yes, the MSA dollars will stay steady, but they will increase over time.
Over time,
They will increase. Yeah.
You're
So
talking about the study?
Yeah, I'm talking about
Yeah.
the study. The dollar amount needed doesn't increase every year.
No.
It stays consistent.
stays
Yeah.
pretty
Sorry.
consistent.
I realize you and I we're saying the same thing, but I think we're saying it differently, and so thank you
I
for
think
clarity.
we're gonna be in good shape.
Yeah,
I
that's
I still think, I agree with Matt. It seems like we should
keep that money there. And again, we can always reallocate the non-MSA money. Maybe.
Yeah, the payment management ones we can just.
Correct. Yeah, so the idea when we put the payment management together this year was to make up and get back to the balance that we needed to for the
To catch
study.
up,
To
yeah.
catch up with the study.
But we-
And then I didn't include the MSA dollars until I thought about them just recently and said, oh, we're gonna get those next year, we need to make sure we account for them.
Yeah.
And we'll use those monies up first if we can, because the first year, because Pine View
Would
is
it be
already paid off,
helpful
so.
for you if in the short term, we send you information on what we will and will not give on? Or
Sure.
adjust or?
Yeah, that helps. Like I said, the idea is that
Is
I don't think any of the five, there's gonna be a few things you guys agree on, but there's no way you grant everything.
Right.
It's just not gonna
And
happen.
it's gonna be hard for you to.
Yeah.
Can I ask
I
a
get
question,
that.
everyone, since we have a couple minutes? So I know there's a split on hiring the two full-time officers, and I'm not going to try to change your mind. My question is, part of that is also raising their pay from $17 an hour to $30 an hour. Thoughts on that piece of it?
I think I built that into my, well, that's 60, so we get back to the 63, was it?
I don't know what the number is, so
Yeah.
you can say whatever number you want to it. I don't know what the
Yeah,
increase actually is. but-
well, I mean, that's the trade-off, including the pension too, so
Can we move them to the other pension plan without hiring the two full-timers? So all we can do of that chunk of three things I have up there is the pay, correct? That was
Oh,
my
sorry.
understanding.
Sorry, I'll go back to your, sorry. There you go.
Yeah, because there's the hiring the two and paying them more and the better pension, the quicker vesting, 5 years versus 10, and then I think it's better.
It's actually, I think that changed, I think it's 3.
Okay, so 3 years versus 10 years to
Yes.
vest, right, in the
Yep.
pension? So if we don't hire the two full-timers, the only one of those three we can do is the middle one, the paying them more. We could still do regardless.
And to make sure, I want to make sure everyone's clear, the pension currently with the fire department is if 100% is 20 years, not 10 years.
Oh,
It takes 20 years.
20 years.
Current model takes 20 years for you to get 100%.
correct, but it takes 10 years to
vested.
become eligible.
Nope, 5
No,
years to
5
become
years.
eligible.
Okay.
Yep.
40% at 5.
and it's
Yeah.
fully at.
And then fully at, you're fully at 20 and then, I don't remember what, 60% or 50-some percent
Right.
at 10 years. It's something, because it's X percentage per year.
Versus the other option, 3 years.
Versus para, it's 3 years and then you're 100% vested. And
Okay.
then it's, after that, it's considered a pension. So you got, the two different pensions for the fire department are currently, you get one lump sum and here's your money. There you go. Do whatever you want with it. I don't care.
Which ends up not being a whole heck of a lot, right?
I mean, it's right now, it's 66 grand.
64,000 after 20 years.
After 20 years, you get a one-time
That's not
check,
a lot.
64 grand, do whatever you want with it, go buy a car if you can afford it. And then,
If, yeah,
or the,
if
or
it's
the,
a
or the
car,
pension,
yeah.
which is forever, is X number of dollars per month, forever. And if you live to 125, congratulations, you got it for however many years.
Yeah.
So, it's just the two different models, but we
So
can't
my-
move there without
Yeah,
full-time.
correct. But because I know that it sounds like 3 people aren't okay with the 2, but I would be interested in what everyone else feels about raising the wage of the fire department. Right now, I mean, you make more money for burgers at McDonald's, you can't run into burning houses.
About the same, but I mean, it's two different occupations for sure.
Don't disagree on that.
Yeah.
Do you have a problem with that, Scott?
No?
Okay. You were quiet. I didn't get a yes or no out of you, so I wanted to make sure I knew what
No,
you said.
I've said that before. I mean, you can get that kind, $17, you can get being a cashier at Holiday gas station.
Well, and it wasn't more than a couple years ago that it was, what was it? It was down to like,
It's 13.
I started at 12.
it's like,
12.
Right?
It was
Yeah,
11. It was
It's
11.
gone up a little. I'm not saying it
Something like
hasn't.
that.
But this is a drastic shift, so I want to make sure that we're all on the
Oh,
same
yeah.
page, or not on the same page, whatever it is. Yeah.
no, I see this as a good move with the pension and everything. Paul, I was
But we
gonna
can't
ask
do
you
the pension piece without the 2 full-time.
No, I'm talking about shifting. I mean, if we, well, I get that.
Because you're saying you eventually want to get there, but not this
Yeah.
next year.
I think the challenge is, it's really the time that people have to commit. The money's great, but I think they want to be a part of it. The biggest thing that I hear in my office is, well, I'm not concerned about the money all that much. I mean, I am, but I'm not. It's kind of talking out of both sides of the mouth, which I understand. Because if we talk about adjusting things, then all of a sudden it's about the money, so it kind of goes exactly.
It's not the primary factor, it's a factor.
Yeah, it's a factor.
Yeah.
And the
Well, it's
biggest
a
thing is,
factor.
yeah, it's factor.
Yep.
It's just a significant benefit.
Yep.
Yep. But I think the biggest thing is from my perspective and the organization's perspective, is trying to make the current model last for as long as we can. It's not Gary's agenda to turn the department into a full-time organization overnight. The reality is it needs to be incrementally implemented over time in order to prevent our current staff from saying, like I have a couple out on leave right now that are not interested or they don't have the time to commit to come back. So when we lose those people, that's a significant impact on the organization as a whole. The $30 an hour, will I be able to recruit people with that? Maybe, but I won't necessarily be able to retain them, if you will. So I don't know what the numbers are exactly, like to Zach's point, but that's the reason we're able to get to 140,000, whatever it is because of cost savings elsewhere that we currently are going to put into this. The other challenge that we have is we need to be able to provide the adequate staff for whatever incident it may be. And currently, right now, we're not able to do that. Can add police officers, and as Chief Inga indicated last time, if they're busy on stuff, public safety or police events, major domestics or whatever, then it spills over to fire and the capacity to try to fill that gap. So a lot of this is really about scheduling, but I can't schedule because one organization that Scott took the opportunity to call is Oak Grove. And Oak Grove spends, I proposed this to.
See, I told you.
I proposed.
Is that who didn't call you back?
But,
No, I had a really good conversation with him.
Yep.
Good guy.
But the challenges that we have is that, for instance, use Oak Grove as an example, and this is the same scenario that I did bring to organization in December 2022 is, hey, we'll pay you a stipend, $25 at that time, plus your hourly call rate, and that's exactly what Oak
That's
Grove
what,
is
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
But when I add those numbers up, Oak Grove is paying their organization $78,000 or almost $79,000 for them to stay home, and I get no benefit for that outside of the fact that there might be 2 firefighters at home to respond. So what I'm trying to do, I believe my job is to look down the road and figure out to try to help council and the community better understand kind of how we can maintain currently what we have as we move forward. Because if too many people quit, regardless if the tax rate is what it is today, or if it needs to double tomorrow, and that's going to be because we don't have staff, and then we have to figure out something else. So that was the reason for bringing forth, basically what we're bringing forth, is trying to maintain what we have for the longest period of time. And this is what the department wants. They don't manage a group of people like Zach manages, where we are full-time and more or less this is how we pay our bills and everything else. At the end of the day, these folks are basically volunteering their time, the extra time that they have. And so that's kind of where we're at with that.
Paul, you have an increase in your wellness program for $2,000. What is that?
It's for therapy dog.
Oh, okay.
The vet, just food and vet bills. Everything else, the dog is covered.
Yeah. So that's one where I would be fine doing much more in that area. Covering these smaller benefits that help the officers do what they're doing. I have no problem kicking more money into that. I know, don't you guys have like a weight room or something, or a stuff for
Exercise
that?
room.
Yeah.
And then it also covers our head up checkup.
Okay.
And then we're looking at using the public safety dollars for full body scans and health checks.
Good things to do, yeah.
Is it something you'd like to add to the operations budget?
Again, all of these things, the small pieces, you get to mess with that.
Okay.
Stuff like that, I'm fine with. It's just the body count that I get concerned about. That's where I start to perk up my ears, because that's a built-in cost every year.
I have a question on the therapy dog thing. The only reason I'm asking this is somebody, and I have no idea who it is.
It was you, Scott, don't lie. We all know.
Yeah, it was you.
Did you see it?
Do you know how to
It was
post
you.
on how to-
An anonymous
It was all
guy?
you. I know you posted.
Whoever that is, I mean,
Whoever that was.
What was that?
huh?
I just don't get the anonymous thing.
I don't understand it either. Just grow a pair and put it out there, you know?
For that reason. That exact reason.
All of a sudden, with this dog thing, what if the dog falls out of the squat and breaks his leg? What happens then? Does the taxpayer pay the vet bill to fix the dog? Or do we just get a new dog?
It depends on whether,
Those
Yeah.
are expensive dogs.
Yes and
depends
yes.
on the injuries suffered.
Well, I'm a
by it.
farmer, man. We just get a new one.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
But
these
the
dogs are
training,
the training
the
is
training adds
expensive.
the expensive.
So do you pay for the training too?
We do, well, at least my proposal that you see in council for this evening, Soldier 6 is providing that at no cost to us.
Okay, because those numbers aren't in the packet. I mean, it's
Yeah,
all-
and that, yeah, but there's no cost in that.
Okay, that was going to be a question of mine.
Yeah.
Just
And
what
there's
happens
a-
if the training costs
there's a
10
lot
grand?
of organizations that train the dog and then they,
Yeah. Same thing with police dogs.
They
It's
gave
the
it
same
away.
thing. They were
Yep.
they donated all the time to train the dog to.
Yeah.
And they have to be trained to be able to handle certain situations and handle different things because
Yep.
we don't want to have a dog freak out and lose its mind and bite somebody because it heard a siren or something. Then
And
we're not making any progress then.
so those organizations also get funding through Lifelines and they get money that way.
Okay.
So that's how they cover it.
I just don't know how, I mean, obviously, there was a lot of residents that did respond on that deal. I mean,
It's very positive. Yeah,
I
there
seen
were
it.
like
It
20
was
some
positive.
comments, I think. Yeah.
But there's no numbers thrown at in that. And would the city of Dayton support if it was a $10,000 vet bill? I don't know.
The numbers weren't in
But
there, but
can-
if you look just at the small sample size of 20 people that commented,
Yeah.
20 of the comments were in favor of it. Again, super small sample size, can't guarantee they're all
Yeah,
Dayton
yeah.
residents. Like, there's a lot of caveats to that, but yes,
Yeah.
overall, they seem to be supportive of the idea.
If a
Not-
dog,
I mean, 10,000 over 9,200 people is only $1 a piece for the year, so.
well, and if it's a dog that's got a history,
Yeah.
you have a known factor too. That really helps. It probably easily be with the 10K.
You guys can be sentimental, I'm not, so it's just the way it is.
Yeah, like my stuff that I'm proposing tonight, that I didn't include in there, is we're gonna use as Paul as some of our public safety dollars, and that was some of those dollars we used,
State funded.
state funded dollars, or for that.
I do want
Anything
to.
else on the budget?
Yeah, I just want to comment.
Or
I
for
know that-
David, 'cause I
yeah,
know he's kind of-
I know he's just sitting on the land,
He's-
hanging out.
Yeah.
One.
Is Dave here yet?
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Mayor Fisher, you made a comment earlier about staff or whatever, and I have the same spreadsheet you have.
Yep.
And so one thing I want to make a caveat to, and it may not seem like such a big deal, but the percentage of increasing one staff member when you have less staff is a much larger percentage than if you increase one or two households compared to larger household numbers. So I did the math of, okay, so say you have 2,500 homes and now you add 100 homes, it's only 2,600 homes, that's a smaller percentage than you take 25 to 26 people. You had one person for 100 homes, the percentage change is bigger on 25 to 26 than it is from 2,500 to 2,600. So comparing percentages, although it sounds good, I don't know if it's the best way to do it either, and I don't know if there's a good way, so I just want to make sure.
No,
guys
and you know
get-
what? The-
Yeah.
The
The
number
other-
of staff per home has not been increasing.
Correct, the
The
number
number
of
of staff has increased, the number of homes have increased.
Yeah, so there has been back and forth, so starting in 21, there's 280 people per one full-time staff. We had 27 full-time staff, and I'm guessing roughly on 3 people per house. We had 7,564 people in this city. That's my guess. I have household numbers from our utility billing company, or utility billing, that's what I used.
What'd you say, 7,300?
7564 is what I got first, population of 2021. And that's roughly 200 people, 280 people per one staff member. In 22, we had 290, so that would mean there's 10 more people per one staff. 290 again in 23, and then we went to 271 in 24, because we had a numerous number of staff this year, which we appreciate and got back to a number. If you add 3 staff next year, that would be the 2 officers, so one at mid-year and one at the beginning of the year, and then 1 full-time staff, whether that's public works likely, would be the answer, moving from one of the part-timers to full-time. We'd be at 275 people per 1 full-time staff. If you move it to 41 with the associate planner and not include the fire staff, now you're at 269, and if you add the fire staff, now you're at 256 per resident. So 256 residents per 1 staff member. I'm going to tell you right now that nobody in this room knows the magic number.
Right.
We do our best to guess what we think is right, and it's worked in the past, but doesn't mean it will work in the future. I will also tell you that every new resident is much more needy than the old residents, and I'm going to say that on camera because that's the case.
Yep.
People that are moving here are coming from other communities that they have
Established.
other services.
Yeah.
And so they're expecting the same services in the city that now they live in currently. When we had 4,000 residents, everyone knew each other. And so, or we knew of neighborhoods, so then you know the person to talk to. And so that doesn't happen anymore as much as we'd like to think it does, it doesn't. So, and I don't know what the magic number is either. I can't sit here and tell you that I know what it is and you don't, because I don't. And I don't think anybody else does, but.
If you're using utility billing numbers, that's not covering the whole of the city.
I'm adding a number of people for like previously established
Yeah.
households and verifying. Okay, so right now I have the population is around 11,000.
Okay.
I'm guessing at that. I don't know if that's exactly right, but it's probably
I
pretty
have
close.
11,400, so that's it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm guessing.
that
So that's why I'm.
Do we want to ask Dave?
11,400?
Yeah,
We're running out of time.
Councilor Fashion, do you have anything to add?
You know, I don't, although I'm having a hard time drilling down to what we're gonna come back to. You know, I think we have some consensus on a couple of the items. I'm not as clear about some of the other ones. So I would say, you know, for myself, I haven't changed my opinion on the things that I mentioned at the beginning. The carry forward, and some of the other savings are, again, delaying. I didn't weigh in on this. I am okay with the higher wages on the firefighters. The pension piece, I think, is a bit hard for me to understand. That's not my area of expertise at all. And so the fire relief piece versus the para piece, I would like to see more about that. It sounds like the direction we should go, and I think we should talk a lot more about it. But I don't think that's something that we should do in 25. And as I understand it, it's dependent on the two hires, which I also don't think we should do this year or in 25. I think we should push that out at least a year.
Okay. Yeah, so what,
One last thing though is, and I am probably in the minority here, but the EDA did submit some kind of budget, like 65K or something like that.
yep.
And if it were just up to me, I would prefer that we levy for that because it's the first time we've seen a budget from the EDA. But if that's going to be their cost of doing business for the year 2025, then we ought to include that in the levy. But that's just where I'm at on that one.
Okay. So the main thing that I would take away from here, which Mayor Fisher had mentioned earlier, is if you send something to me that would be greatly appreciated of things like, absolutely, I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
If you'll bend on some things and you get, okay, this is what I prefer, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. If I get it, that would be appreciated as well. But if you have things that are like absolute no's, that would be really appreciated if you send those in an email. I'll do my best. We will bring back a budget in September, so the plan is not meeting in August. We will have another work session, but it will be on the master plan. And then we'll bring back a budget in September. It'll be, again, I'll send it out prior to get the council feedback. It'll be somewhere between 14 and 16%. It will not have exactly what it's being spent on yet, because I'm not going to really know that stuff, but I need to have a number that we're able to go to the statements with, and we can always go down. So, like I said, it'll probably be here towards 16, and that might mean that we put more money way towards savings for the ladder truck. That might mean we bring it down to 15% or something in December. Limited number of council meetings left and a lot of things still to figure out. So. Appreciate it.
Great. No objections, we'll be adjourned. We're adjourned.
Thank you.